does represent the shortcomings and the constraints of the industry. In Britain, it is hard for art house films to get made. It is hard for political dramas to get made for the big screen. And that's the kind of films that Cannes wants.
Last year, Cannes launched the Norwegian film Sentimental Value, the Brazilian picture The Secret Agent, and the Iran-set movie It Was Just an Accident, all featured in the Oscars race. Despite industry-wide uncertainty, festival goers fervently believe that Cannes will live up to its reputation in the coming days to deliver some must-see cinema to engage movie audiences around the world.
That report from the BBC's Tom Brooke, and 22 movies will be vying for the prestigious Palme d'Or Award. And that's it from World Business Express with me, Sarah Rogers. Please do subscribe, though, to get the latest episode. Just search for World Business Express wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks for listening.
This is the BBC World Service, following the move of 28 million museum specimens to a new home.
London's Natural History Museum is packing up millions of creatures. We'll be revealing what that involves, including why and how you freeze a zebra.
An animal exodus. Thursday at 8:30 and 19 GMT. At bbc.com, from our own correspondent.
What it means when people from a society that values harmony take to the streets in passionate protest. We're in Japan, where the pendulum is swinging away from its pacifist past, and there are strong feelings for and against.
This is the BBC World Service, the world's radio station.
Welcome to Outside Source with me, Rahul Tandon, live from the floor of a very, very busy BBC newsroom, because my colleagues around me have been closely following events not too far from here, which have centred around 10 Downing Street, where the British Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer, is hanging on to his jobs. 3 cabinet ministers have resigned today, telling him to go, but as we speak to you, he is still in charge. Lots of discussions, I can see them happening around me, are taking place in this newsroom and across the UK, where the public have been having their say on whether Sir Keir Starmer should stay or go.
Sir Keir Starmer is a decent man, and I think he's democratically elected.
My message to Keir Starmer is call a general election, get out, let the country decide. You're a failure. Go now.
I think you get a sense there that emotions are running high in the public, amongst the Labour Party as well. Rob Watson's going to guide us through it after the news.
BBC News with Govinda Gill. 3 ministers in the British government have resigned as pressure mounts on Keir Starmer to stand down as Prime Minister. A government source has told the BBC that Sir Keir refused to discuss his leadership or poor election results during a cabinet meeting. More than 80 Labour MPs have now called for the Prime Minister to resign, but several ministers have expressed support for him. Our correspondent Harry Farley is outside 10 Downing Street.
As we've been talking, we've also seen a growing number of Labour MPs publicly sharing their support for the Prime Minister, those loyal to him still, making that known, making that public, under encouragement, I'm told, from Number 10. There is obviously a rearguard action taking place with those Labour MPs who still back the Prime Minister, wanting to make that known publicly. And I'm also told that messages about the market reaction to some of the uncertainty that we've seen today has been shared around Labour MPs. The message there that more chaos, more uncertainty, more changing leadership would increase the cost of government borrowing, would do more damage to people's mortgages.
President Trump has announced talks with Cuba, saying it had asked for help. From Washington, Bernd de Boosman reports.
Mr. Trump's post on Truth Social comes amid escalating pressure from the administration towards communist-run Cuba, 150 kilometers from American shores. Mr. Trump vowed that Cuba was next after U.S. commandos toppled longtime ally Nicolas Maduro from power in January, which was followed by a wave of fresh and expanded financial sanctions, a punishing fuel blockade, and stricter restrictions on U.S. travel and remittances. His announcement came hours before a highly anticipated trip to China, which has publicly called on Washington to end its blockade and sanctions on Cuba.
President Volodymyr Zelensky's former top aide, Andriy Yermak, has appeared at an anti-corruption court hearing after being named as a suspect in an alleged multi-million money laundering scheme. The former chief of staff is suspected of being part of a criminal group that laundered over $10 million through an elite housing development outside Kyiv. He's denied owning property in the estate. The pace of inflation in the United States has risen again. It now stands at 4%. Samira Hussain reports from Washington.
The war with Iran is hitting the world's largest economy, pushing up the cost of living for Americans. The latest inflation figures came in higher than many economists were expecting, driven in large part by skyrocketing energy costs. It's not just gasoline and fuel that have gone up. Food and housing, airfares, and clothing have all increased too. U.S. President Donald Trump maintains the high price of oil is temporary and will drop when the conflict is over.
This is the World News from the BBC. Nigeria's military has again denied that civilians were killed in an airstrike on a village in northwestern Zamfara state on Sunday, saying it had targeted armed groups. The rights group Amnesty International has urged the authorities to investigate witness reports that the strike hit a crowded market, killing more than 100 non-combatants. Fishermen in Mozambique say they fear for their safety following a series of abductions by Islamist militants. Concerns were raised after 9 fishermen were seized off the coast in the northern Cabo Delgado province. Richard Kagoe reports.
The fishermen were abducted as they arrived in the town of Mocimboa da Praia. Reports say the men are being held on a remote island with militants demanding ransom. It is the second such incident in a month after insurgents intercepted a fishing boat heading to Tanzania near the northern Mozambican port. Analysts warn fishing in the region has become increasingly perilous, pointing to a shift in militant tactics as other cells continue attacking villages and infrastructure on the mainland. Mozambican forces, backed by a regional mission, have struggled to contain the insurgency since it began in 2017.
An indigenous group in Australia has been awarded more than $100 million in compensation after its land was mined for iron ore without permission. A court ruled that Fortescue caused significant damage to the cultural heritage of the Yindjibarndi people. The decision amounts to one of the biggest payouts brought under laws recognising indigenous rights. 22 movies are vying for the prestigious Palme d'Or at the Cannes Film Festival, the world's biggest, which opens today. For the first time, the jury will be chaired by a South Korean director, Park Chan-wook. While famously showcasing art house cinema, this year's Cannes will have no US blockbuster to be shown outside the competition. That's the latest BBC News.
Hello and welcome to Outside Source here on the BBC World Service. I'm Rahul Tandon. Here I am sat in our global newsroom in central London, and I'm sure you can hear the buzz of conversation that is around me. And what happens in this newsroom is that buzz gets even louder as my colleagues around me are dealing with a fast developing and moving story, and that is exactly what they're doing at the moment. And that is a story we're going to follow throughout Outside Source today, because 3 ministers in the British government have now resigned. That is heaping the pressure on the British Prime Minister Keir Starmer to stand down as the country's leader. In the last half hour, the BBC understands that more than 100 Labour MPs have signed a statement backing Keir Starmer's removal. The political drama comes amid a new revolt amongst Labour MPs after a disastrous set of local election results last week. This was the moment journalists outside the PM's office shouted questions to ministers. That is the tradition here, as they left a crunch cabinet meeting.
Have you asked the Prime Minister to step down, Lisa Nandy? Liz Kendall, should the Prime Minister resign? Should the Prime Minister resign, Pat McFadden? Is it over for Keir Starmer? Has anyone got the guts to challenge Keir Starmer? Wes Streeting, do you want to be Prime Minister? Will you challenge Keir Starmer? Wes Streeting, do you want the job or not?